Hello and welcome back to Digital Assets Daily. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and wherever you are in your corner of the world. This initially started off as a quick video, but with the connections, I thought it was more impressive to just go ahead and share that with you, as there are a lot of new investors in the space today, just to see, as we've begun sharing on this channel, the connections to XRP, XLM, and Ethereum connected to the entire new financial system. And this video sort of reiterates that, as we were getting into the discussion with CBDCs, also known as central bank digital currencies, for the new investor, and for, well, let's just dive in. It's going to be a tricky one. Bear with me, as it kind of is a little scattered with so many tabs open. I try to place them in order, but it's just a really tricky one. Bear with me, and we will get through this. And here we go. 4 reasons central banks should launch digital currencies. As we scroll down, we will get into that. A CBDC is a central bank liability. Let's get into that. I keep remembering the new people aren't going to be as aware as some of you experienced investors. So let's assume, for some strange reason, we all live in the US and the Federal Reserve has read this article and decided to issue a digital dollar. In this scenario, the digital dollar is money that is a liability of the Fed. If you have a CBDC, i.e. a digital dollar in your wallet, the Fed owes you $1. In that sense, a retail CBDC performs the same function as a banknote issued by the central bank. If it's in your wallet and you haven't stolen it from someone else, congratulations. It's 100% your own, and Uncle Sam owes you that money. And if you're familiar right now with the hot discussion on the news, is a new digital dollar. A retail CBDC performs the same function as a banknote. In our example, if the Fed is still issuing paper dollars, you can ask the Fed to exchange your digital dollar for a paper dollar. In contrast, if you hold a stable coin, such as Tether or True USD, in your exchange account, the Fed owes you nothing. If all those tethers were just smoke rings and you are suddenly wrecked, well, that's on you, not Uncle Sam. The money in your retail bank account today is also not CBDC, because it's just a number in your bank. It says it owes you. If your bank falls or fails, the most you can recover is the maximum FDIC insured amount. Currently, that amount is still $250,000 USD per account. The money in your PayPal wallet is also not a CBDC. Because if you press the send button and PayPal refuses to send that money to Bob, you can complain to that regulator, but Uncle Sam doesn't owe you that money. In short, CBDC is digital money Uncle Sam owes you. By extension, it's money that only Uncle Sam can print and only Uncle Sam can burn. Who needs a CBDC is the question. Many central banks around the world are designing and testing CBDCs, but the jury is still very much out on their efficacy and longevity as policies. In general, arguments about CBDC fall into 3 buckets. Digital revolutionaries are people who argue that now China is issuing a digital yuan. Everyone who currently uses the US dollar will immediately switch to digital renminbi, and the great American empire will soon come tumbling down. There's little logical justification for such sweeping beliefs, but let's offend my revolutionary friends in another article, not in this one. CBDC skeptics argue money is already digital, and they note that in several Western countries that consumer payments are made through mobile banking, Venmo, or PayPal, and the use of cash is diminishing rapidly. Digital money tracked in central bank ledgers exposes users to surveillance with little benefit, and skeptical officials at the Bank of England say that if customers can hold central bank money directly, They will not want to hold any money with commercial banks in a time of crises, thus causing banks' credit and monetary policies to fail. We already know the Bank of England is now a third-year Ripple customer. CBDCs can mitigate risk by providing a sound domestic internet-based payment system for a wide range of consumer applications. These CBDC proponents, like me, argue a well-designed CBDC can increase the ability of the issuing central banks to conduct monetary and credit policy and promote financial stability, consumer protection, financial inclusion, and cross-border payments. In this article, he'll try to explain why or how. At the most basic level, money held in savings accounts or e-wallets is not backed by the full faith and credit of the central bank, and therefore bears credit risk, i.e. that banks will run out of money. Since most of us have savings accounts with less money than the maximum amount of FDIC that it's willing to insure, this is generally not a problem. For small and medium businesses that hold several hundred thousands of dollars with banks, or for large consumer purchases like a home, the risk of a bank going under or not being able to find enough liquidity to honor a payment instruction is small, but it's real. Overall, there are four major reasons why any central bank will launch a retail CBDC over the next decade. Number one is cross-border payments and digital identity. Number two is financial inclusion. Number three is financial stability. And number four would be consumer protection. Feel free to read more on this as you like, as we will always include the links to these articles in the description below for your further research and curiosity. And next we're going to go into Cambodia readies a blockchain-based digital currency. The NBC, or National Bank of Cambodia, is readying a central bank digital currency, a CBDC, to be launched at some point during the current fiscal quarter. Chase Ray, NBC's Director General, told the Phnom Penh Post this week the central bank was developing the National Payment Gateway for Cambodia as a blockchain-based peer-to-peer platform with its own specially designed cryptocurrency, and she did not give a definite date on when the CBDC would be launched. Known as Project Baikong, the first trialed by NBC was in July 2019, and the CBDC will work on a closed system supported by its banking members, one of them Phnom Penh Commercial Bank, PPC Bank. President Shin Chang-mu told the Post. And peer-to-peer, remember, is your retail banking. And as we skip down to Baikong, was designed by the Japanese blockchain company Soromitsu. CEO Makoto Takamiya told CoinDesk that the CBDC is simply a tokenized version of the USD and real fiat money in NBC's reserves. The system can support any type and number of currencies, including cryptocurrency, he added. And Soromitsu is currently working on implementing similar systems for other countries around the world. Which brings me to another topic. The Hyperledger project. Work on permissioned frameworks has been pushed forward by the Hyperledger project, and this started out as a collaboration between the Linux Foundation's open source community and commercial giants including IBM, Hitachi, Intel, Soromitsu, and Huawei. And in 2019, Microsoft, Salesforce, and Consensus joined the consortium. So right there you have it. Soromitsu connecting back to IBM and the Hyperledger project. What do we have there but the Makoto Takamiya of Soromitsu on the state of affairs in Japan's Bitcoin and blockchain industry. His speech covered several interesting cases from Japan. Mr. Takamiya also demonstrated Soromitsu's own project, most of which employ Hyperledger Iroha. If you scroll down a little bit, you have Hyperledger Iroha is a blockchain platform implementation of one of the Hyperledger projects hosted by the Linux Foundation. Hyperledger Iroha is designed to be simple and easy to incorporate into infrastructural projects, requires distributed ledger technology, the DLT. So now keep in mind you have Hyperledger and you have DLT. Hyperledger Iroha features a simple construction, modern domain-driven C+ design, emphasis on mobile application development, and a new chain-based Byzantine fault-tolerant consensus algorithm. Okay, now you have Hyperledger, the Byzantine fault tolerant consensus algorithm, and you have IBM. But again, what we know on Byzantine fault, you have Ripple and Stellar, and what you have on Hyperledger is Ripple and Stellar. So we have here Hyperledger Iroha has been founded by the Linux Foundation to build trusted, fast, and secure dApps on blockchain technology based on a highly fast and secure consensus algorithm. Yet another consensus, Iroha protects the nodes from failures or adversary nodes. Supporting both Linux and Mac OS environment, the platform is widely used to build the supply chain and IoT solutions. Like other Hyperledger projects, Iroha is also simple and modularized distributed ledger system. Consensus algorithm for it is the chain-based Byzantine fault tolerance. When you go to Byzantine fault tolerance, BFT, what do you see? The implementations: Hyperledger, Stellar, and Ripple. You cannot find those guys anywhere when you're discussing the brand new financial system that is being implemented all around us. Federated Byzantine Agreement, the Bbva, is another class of solutions to the Byzantine general's problem used by currencies like Stellar and Ripple. So here you have it again, of these two running the entire financial system.
I have another question from Marla Dukaran, who's a chief economist for BIT, with 2 T's. How long do you think it will take for central bank digital currencies to become mainstream, and why?
It can be very fast. As a matter of fact, in Cambodia, they are already experimenting in real life with CBDCs.
Cambodia.
In Cambodia.
Right.
Right, I don't know what's going on with the internet because I have the fastest you can get as a consumer and not a commercial supplier, and I have not had those issues. So either which way, he's talking about how long do you think it will take for CBDCs to become mainstream, she asks him. And Augustine replies, in Cambodia, they're already experimenting in real life with CBDCs. She responds back, Cambodia? As she seemed a little bit shocked and surprised. So either which way, we have the video from Augustine, the Bank for International Settlements. As we discussed at the beginning of the video, there you have it coming directly from him. We've shown you where they're coming from and who makes up that system. Soromitsu introduces Iroha, an interoperable smart contract network. And here you have the blockchain network of Iroha, which is based on a new Byzantine fault-tolerant consensus algorithm called Sumeragi. And it will enable businesses of any size to implement its network with substantially lower costs, as well as run smart contract-based applications with improved security measures. And we know that the Stellar already has a smart contract capability as well. Here we have Soromitsu develops the world's first blockchain-based retail payment system with National Bank of Cambodia. We've gone through that, so I'm just showing you some headlines here. All through this here, the DLT and the Hyperledger, all over the Soromitsu blockchain fintech startup that initially created and is a co-maintainer of DLT on the Hyperledger, Iroha. So National Bank of Cambodia. You have Linux from the decentralized autonomous economy called Sora. And again, as we go through this was very interesting, as something we've discussed before. Kind of a change of pace, but not really, because when you go down, here's where it gets very interesting. You start finding the spider web. As Brad Garlinghouse has stated, it will take a few of these companies to make this new financial system successful. NEM, or NEM, was initially developed and introduced in Japan by Makoto Takamiya, the co-founder and CEO of Soramitsu, the company that introduced the Iroha blockchain project to the Linux Foundation's Hyperledger project. Now, what gets really interesting with NEM here, if you follow this channel, we've discussed NEM is already a CBDC. It is being used currently in the Bank of Lithuania and the Bank of Venezuela. Another interesting thing too with NEM is it also has a big partnership with PundiX. PundiX has created the first point of sale on blockchain and the first cell phone on blockchain, which also partners up and uses the Android system. So I don't want to get too far off, because it's very easy to keep wandering off in my deep dives and the information that we have to share. But to finish that conversation with PundiX, it is also partnering up with NEM, making its own currency called the PundiX NEM, or the NPXSXEM. Okay, now back to NEM. NEM gains, let's move beyond that. The headlines are relevant on this one. But when you come here, you have a major factor that allows NEM to transform into one of the most popular altcoins in Japan is its development team and company composed of Japanese founders and talents. NEM initially developed and introduced in Japan by Makoto Takamiya, the co-founder and CEO of Soramitsu. The company has also introduced the Iroha blockchain project to the Linux Foundation Hyperledger project. And at the beginning of this video, we discussed that Soramitsu was the system in which the Cambodian central bank digital currency is based upon. Here, and the founder, the creator of Soramitsu, also created NEM, which is now a Ripple connection, a Ripple partner. And this gets interesting because NEM and Ripple are the two most popular altcoins in Japan in terms of demand and trading volumes. Higashi explained that local investors are demonstrating an increasing level of interest toward the two altcoins because of NEM's Japanese origin and Ripple's association with Japanese banks. So here we move over, we see the partnership. Ripple, NEM, and two others launch blockchain for Europe Association. And as we scroll down into this, we see the four participant companies are Ripple, the NEM Foundation, Emergo, which also supports commercial ventures based on the Cardano blockchain. So now you have these guys in a partnership across Europe to lobby the banks. And here we have again the further, if you're new to this channel, I like to reinforce and show you the credibility and the power of your investment. If you're invested in Ripple or XCM, and in this case NEM is pretty impressive. We mentioned it months ago, and it has done excessively well since then. To be transparent, we do not invest in NEM, or their ticker symbol would be XEM, but it is definitely going to be a good one and has already proven to be so. All right, if we scroll down into this article just a little bit, we have the participant companies are well known: NEM, Ripple, and Smart Ledger development company Fetch.ai, and Emergo. Right here in the next article, what a partnership between NEM, Ripple, and Cardano could hold. I'm going to scroll right down. We have a highlighted section here. The Bbva said that the purpose of this publicly sponsored initiative is to garner support from private blockchain and DLT experts to contribute to outline the EU's strategy regarding these technologies. And now you have those four in an alliance together for the European Union. And what do you have here but Bbva? So that made me think Ethereum and Stellar joined Ripple in Bbva bank test. So I found that pretty interesting. As you scroll down into this article, here you have one of Ripple's features is its ability to function as an alternative to wire transfers and SWIFT payments for customers wishing to exchange money across borders. And we do it much faster for a fraction of the fees. Earlier this week, Ripple was ruffled by a controversy involving a former employee of the bank, Bbva, that claims potentially damaging or that Ripple didn't actually work as advertised. Today, we received an official response to the claims from Bbva, as well as putting a torch to the controversy. The statements were identified as the bank was working with other cryptocurrencies, and the bank specifically name-dropped both Ethereum and Hyperledger project. Bbva is continuing to work with Ripple. The statement from a spokesperson in the communication strategy team read, as well as a number of others working in the blockchain sector, such as Ethereum and Hyperledger. As this technology develops and builds out into new solutions, the Bbva spokesperson from the communication strategy team stated. And into the article a little bit more, you have Hyperledger is not a specific currency, but instead a project with a range of collaborations focused on evolving cross-industry blockchain technologies. It is also looking to develop solutions for international money transfers, hoping to take care of 60% of all payments in the South Pacific in 2018. Most notable cryptocurrency involved in the Hyperledger project is Stellar. Stellar is one of the major projects in the Hyperledger community. Another thing here, we have Nordea, one of the biggest banks in Europe's Ripple connection. So as we scroll down in this article, the Nordea CEO reveals that Ripple and its R3 consortium is of enormous importance to them. Also, Deloitte, in one of the most notable prototypes, is integrating Ripple and Stellar blockchain platforms to enable P2P transactions across geographies. And then as we get down into the article just a little bit, let's scroll down a little bit more. Ripple and Stellar to enable person-to-person transactions. A Reddit user found a paper by Deloitte on Project Ubin SGD on the distributed ledger, along with the Monetary Authority of Singapore MAS, that talks about DLT and using it in cross-border payments. DLT offers significant benefits to both P2P and business-to-business payments in terms of cost saving, increased efficiency, and improved security. Cross-border payments have plenty of room for innovation, and the future looks bright for DLT within this use case. However, the most important aspect of the report is Deloitte's prototype for cross-border payments that will be using both Ripple and Stellar's blockchain. One of Deloitte's most notable prototypes is the cross-border payment system or application, and the prototype integrates Ripple and Stellar blockchain platforms to enable person-to-person P2P transactions across geographies. Though Deloitte has already integrated Ripple's technology in 2016 along with the Stellar network, it looks like the company is using both technologies in its protocol. Moving beyond that, you have here Hyperledger Fabric is IBM's private permission DLT solution. It is open sourced underneath Hyperledger Foundation, a Linux Foundation DLT extension, and the Stellar Development Foundation, SDF, joined the Hyperledger Foundation as an associate member. So I think that's pretty amazing there. Here we want to finish this off with Ripple joins Hyperledger Consortium. Even since the late 2015 article came out last summer of June 25th, the Hyperledger project has existed to facilitate collaboration among developing blockchains and distributed ledgers of various types. So here, as we've discussed in this video, Cambodia having one of the first successful trials of CBDCs and using them currently. And as we scroll back to the beginning here, we have the, let's see if it'll scroll up fast enough here, the retail digital currencies, and they are running off of the Beikong designed Soromitsu. And what did we find as we went into Soromitsu? But the guy that also designed NIM. NIM partnered back up with Ripple, and as we got into the Europe blockchain, we found Ripple and Stellar. We also noticed that the Soromitsu system was also running off of the Hyperledger. Hyperledger also using the Stellar and Ripple. So I mean, everywhere you look, guys, everywhere you turn, you cannot find in the new financial system Stellar without Ripple or Ripple without Stellar. So I think if you are an investor in Stellar and Ripple, I think you have a very exciting future. Be patient. This year is already 1 year earlier than its traditional 4-year cycle bull run. But we do know, as in research all the way back to 2015, that 2020 was the goal. It was the launch date, so to speak. So it's already going to be a year early. So be patient, even if it takes the rest of this year. I don't see how that can happen, as we are in a huge financial crisis at the time. They're already having trouble and issues with liquidity. And what do we know? These have on-demand liquidity. And this can easily save the financial institutions. And as investors, it can make you very wealthy. Again, guys, this type of video was very strenuous and exhausting and very challenging to stay on track and keep focused with so many tabs. But I think we did good in showing the entire connection that those two continue to come back and forth, and Ripple and Stellar will be running the new financial system. There will be others involved, as we have shown even in this video, that will be very successful. But those two are definitely the major players. Again, guys, this is not financial advice. It's for entertainment purposes only. Much love to all of you, and we'll catch you in the next one.